Hey everyone, I'm making another vlog today. This one's actually about my philosophy on classroom management. I suppose the way I view it would be not necessarily in a reactive nature, but more of a proactive nature. Um, Students in your classroom really do kind of acquire a set of learned behavioral skills, and that really does rely on how the instructor sets up their classroom and the environment in order for those students to achieve that learning of those skills. Um, as an instructor, I've been learning more and more with the more experience I get that you don't necessarily have to be mean in the classroom to be strict. You can still be very demanding of the students and have a very high expectation of them and how they behave, how they interact with one another, with the instructor, and how they approach their learning with the musical repertoire we put in front of them. However, you can set those expectations without being necessarily too aggressive about it. Um, and how students approach it is that they do kind of ask for a little bit more structure. I've actually had a couple of kids in my internships and student teaching specifically this semester come up to me and mention, "Hey, you're too nice on those guys over there," or they happen to be talking while you were talking, and I tried to get them to be quiet, but they just wouldn't stop, and you kind of let that go. And while on the podium or walking around the classroom, that's something I didn't quite notice as much. The students do pick up on that really well. Um, I am actually learning this really as a very strong lesson this semester. I'm a very non-confrontational person by nature, and I am finding more and more that I don't have to necessarily confront students too much, but I do have to expect more of them in that they are silent when I'm speaking specifically, or they're getting set and in the mental setting up the mental process for when we're about to start class or rehearsal or whatever the activity is for that day. And the students do kind of pick up on that, and that is something that I'm trying to do a little bit more of. A lot of it really is just how you set that expectation. I've noticed mentor teachers in the past, as well as I'm trying to do this a lot more now, um, just saying, hey, we're being too loud right now, and we're not going to continue until we can be quiet together, or until we're all ready and prepared to start together. Things like that, just kind of giving them the idea that I am aware that we are getting very loud, and these are not the expectations that we as a class have for one another, let alone me as instructor for the students. It is kind of fun as an instructor to see exactly how the older classes run versus the younger classes. Um, Procedural stuff is very much a learned behavior. As an instructor, one of the most helpful tools I've been learning is just to be able to step on and off the podium. If I'm off the podium, setting that guideline of being off the podium means you can be a little bit louder, you can play your instrument, you can talk to one another, you can get things ready and kind of do what needs to happen. But as soon as we flip that switch and as soon as I'm on the podium again, there's just silence and we're ready to go. There's more of a focus there, not necessarily just demanding complete silence, but demanding that there is a focus that we're all ready to go together. The culture really can be one that is a lot of fun if the students are aware of when that switch does need to flip. Again, when it is time to kind of play a little bit more, then it is playtime and we can kind of talk to each other. We can talk and interact as individuals, not necessarily just as teacher and student, but more as like person to person. We can actually get more of that relationship there. But when it is time to actually start working on specific goals for the day that we've set with each other, it is that time to make it happen. So there can be a very serious attitude that the students do pick up from us in the front, and that they kind of expect from one another. One thing that I've really liked so far is again seeing how the younger classes are taught this behavioral skills. The younger classes do seem to take a little bit more of an effort on my part specifically to demand more of them, while the older classes just kind of get there ready to go just because they've gone through the process. The joke that I've kind of been saying this whole semester is just that you do have to teach the kids how to band before they can actually band, and that they have to know exactly what's expected of them when they walk into the classroom, how they need to set up their instruments, when they need to get in their seats, what music they need to have up in front of them, and being able to read your body language before you even have to say a word, so they know exactly when it is time to start. Um, so in essence, you are really kind of teaching them how to actually approach the band setting. And for many of the kids, it is a very new setting. This isn't something necessarily that's expected in various classes. The other classes do have their own set of behavioral goals, um, but because of the chaos that band can become if we don't have those procedures in place with so many noisemakers in everyone's hands, it is very much a little bit more of a stricter uh, set that we're trying to set from the kids essentially. And it really is good to see the progression of as the kids get older in some of the more mature classes, some of the more advanced classes, to see exactly how they pick up on those procedures they learned from the very beginning, year after year, until they can actually just get there and become more of a efficient ensemble while still having a great time in the band classroom.